And never before has education suffered this level of disruption globally. Never before have 1.2 billion learners globally been this confused about what next. Many students are on the crossroads of changing tracks for their future. Should I continue? Should I defer? Will e-learning be the same as being on campus? Should I just study in India? This question is on every student's mind today. To clarify doubts and confusions, we have with us today Dr. Mrs. Indu Shahani, who's a renowned educationist, Viral Doshi and Dr. Karan Gupta, two biggest education counselors on the show today. But first up, here's a look at the lay of the land. According to UNESCO, 73.8% of the world's student population stands to be affected by school closures. 1.29 billion learners find themselves out of school. 186 countries globally have been impacted by school closures. Never before has education witnessed a disruption as big as this one. The new normal through technology is evidently setting in.
The opportunity for students, working professionals, young, old, to be able to consume more learning online is going to become a new normal. It's important for institutions of learning, whether schools, colleges, to adapt to this right now so that we can leverage it for the future.
If you are carrying on with your admissions abroad and they are going to be online, then use our campuses to be the touch points for your online learning, because peer learning is very important.
But can online education ever replace the experience of being on campus? What should a student do next? Our top focus on India today. All right, we are also going to be having Dr. Karan Gupta and Viral Doshi join us in just about a bit to tell us about gap year and what students should do then, what happens to the applicants who are looking forward to resuming classes any point now in the semester to come. But first up, Dr. Mrs. Indu Shahani, thank you so much and appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. For the students who are already back in India midway into their courses and do not know what next to do, what in your opinion should they do? How should they proceed? You have been stressing so much about study in India, like make in India. So what can they do now, now that they are here midway through their courses? And of course, we'll be resuming once there's clarity. We don't know when that clarity will even come in, Dr. Shahani.
So thank you, Chetty, for having me on here. I just feel that the External Affairs Ministry has just said that about 750,000 students are studying abroad in 90 different countries. And I know that a large number of students will be affected. So if I were a parent, I think one of the first things that I would want to see is health and safety of my child, return on investment, and academic experience. I think with COVID-19, all three are significantly impaired. So I think realistically, why don't we look now to these young students finding courses in India? I think option one would be, why not just study in India? Many colleges and universities are doing very well and have very excellent courses. A second option, and which is what we at ISDI and ISME are looking at, is that a large number of universities are talking to us and saying that maybe we could start with what is called, and we have started with what is called a Golden Bridge program, so that 1 year that you are here, a year or a semester, you're over here with us, and you're occupied, academically occupied. Usually I would have said take a gap year, but the gap year is a life experience, and gap year cannot be done at home. So you're not going to be able to travel, you're not going to be able to go to work. So you might as well take up a great course, and that's what I think the future is. However, for students who are nearing completion, have already gone through halfway through, I would suggest that they should complete their program online at least gain their qualification that they have worked so hard for. And for students, we are working with leading universities like LSC, LBS, and Babson to see that we can open up our campus for curating unique student experiences for such students who are doing online teaching with them, so that we can give them even experience, we can give them touch points here for the curriculum that they are doing there.
Yes, absolutely. And your Golden Bridge plan is super exciting. I went through it, and what better time than now for people to, go ahead and study in India until they go ahead and study abroad. Viral Doshi also joins us. Viral Doshi will be joining us in just about a bit for more. But until then, till Viral and Dr. Gupta are with us, Dr. Shani, you must tell our viewers about the Golden Bridge program. Students are planning to go abroad, but until then, there's always an option to be in India.
Of course, and I always say this, that if it can be make in India, if it can be skill in India, if it can be startup India, why not study in India? And after all, if you look all over the world, it's Indian faculty who are really supreme in most of the universities abroad. And so are they here in India. So why not look at options in India? So the Golden program that we are looking at is actually a one-year business, is very much a business liberal arts and quants and business analytics program that we are looking at, data analytics program, so that it forms a foundation for the students going to anywhere. If they're going for their business courses abroad, if they're going for liberal arts, they're going for sciences, they're going for engineering, this would give them a foundation year before they could go in over there. Most of the universities abroad have a foundation year. Our design school has a very strong foundation year. And I think I make some of my students in even the management school sit through the design foundation year, because foundation classes, because they are extremely interdisciplinary.
That's fantastic. So interdisciplinary, so you can stay here, do a foundation course, no matter what your specialization is once you go overseas and start pursuing your education in the new normal. Until then, you always have options here in India. Let's also get in Viral Doshi, who will be talking to us about how India has never witnessed an education disruption of this scale. And why not India? I would say the entire world has. You saw the figures coming in from UNESCO as well as to how people have been disrupted all over the world. Thanks much, Dr. Shani, for those inputs, and very valuable ones while at it. Viral Doshi, why don't you guide the students who have been accepted in the foreign universities for the current academic year and the 2021 applicants as well? There are parents, there are students, all of them with so much amount of confusion. Universities still to decide what next for them. Over to you, Mr. Doshi. All right, Viral Doshi is going to be with us in just a bit, but Viral Doshi is going to be talking to us about the disruption we're seeing at the global level, and he's with us. Right. So thanks so much, Mr. Doshi, for joining us. Yes, I can hear you. I was telling you, why don't you tip our viewers and the students who are watching today, the 2020 applicants and the 2021 applicants, what should they do? There's just so much confusion.
So right. Whenever you thought of the word disruption, you never thought of education, always thought of technology or business. For the first time, we are seeing disruption in the field of education, not only for students who have applied or who are applying, but for universities. Just think of the universities for a minute. How are they being disrupted? One, their endowments are down substantially. So financially, it is going to be a challenge for them next year. Two, the revenues have dropped because sporting events, summer schools, which contribute to the coffer, have completely disappeared. Three, they introduced distance learning courses this year, perhaps in fall time. How do we charge the fee? We have no idea. Four, enrollment. This year, they don't even have an idea what sort of enrollment will take place, because a lot of people are going to differ. How do you balance the budgets for next year? Five, social distancing. How do you manage 6 feet among students in classrooms, in dormitories? And six, a very important aspect, how do you take care of professors of 50, 55 plus to go and deliver lectures physically in a classroom? They're a very high risk area. This is the challenges that the universities are facing, and that they're looking deeply into it, and I'm sure some solutions will arise in the next month or two. Now let's go to the batch of 2021 who will be applying this year. What are the challenges, disruptions for them? Number one, when they apply, because of endowments going down, financial aid is going to be a challenge. Number two, because of performance, there could be challenge with number of seats available for them. Let's say a college has 2,000 seats and 10% are international students, okay, and 20% different. That's 40 students. But so next year, if you have 200 seats, if you remove the 40 students, so you're fighting for only 160 seats. Three, and a very important aspect for students applying for next year, how are the colleges going to evaluate us? Are they going to have standardized testing? It's going to be made optional. Will they look more at academics, at extracurricular activities? And fourth, and importantly, because students want to stand out for the college application process, what about our extracurricular activities? How do we plan them in this pandemic? That's a big challenge. My take on this for the class of 2021 would be as follows. One, if you're applying to colleges for next year, be cautious of financial aid. Don't apply for financial aid. Your chances will diminish tremendously. Two, please be realistic about the list of colleges that you apply to. Keep many more safety schools. This is not a normal year. Three, focus on academics, because if standardized testing gets removed, academics will be looked at more seriously. Four, if you have a chance to do standardized testing, please do them. But more importantly, when it comes to extracurricular activities, you will have to innovate, because this is not the time for a natural extracurricular activity. You have to use the online resources. You have to do research programs online. You may be doing academic competitions online. You'll perhaps do community service online. You'll sort of learn different courses online. You'll have to innovate. And five, when you apply to colleges, please also apply to different countries. Don't restrict yourself to one country, because we don't know what is going to happen next 1 year. And six, the most important thing for me to tell students this year is, if you come to a situation where overseas education is going to be challenging, please look at India. Remember the old adage, undergraduate in India, postgraduate degree abroad. I think it still works like a charm. But remember, the last 15 years, because of rising affluency, foreign exchange being freely available, and internet being a level playing field, everybody's going abroad today. But if you just step back, why are they going abroad? Because 15 years ago, we didn't have private universities in India. Today, we've got some marvelous private colleges. We have a doyen of Indian education, Dr. Hindustani. I'm sure she'll speak more on that.
So, just hold on to that. You hold on to that thought right there. You mentioned an interesting point about some students even opting for a gap year as well. So, this gap year thing is a very American concept. But looks like many students all over the world will have to, perhaps, if they're not planning to, go right away or make do with the online curriculum, if the university is offering that to them, will have no other option but to do in gap year. But in the gap year, I was speaking to Dr. Karan Gupta, who's just about to join us on the show live as well. He was talking about how you cannot be wasting your time in this gap year as well. All that you can do in the gap year is utilize your time well. So Dr. Karan Gupta is now joining us. He's one of the popular faces as far as education counseling in India is concerned. Many students are preferring to take the gap year, Dr. Gupta, as they are most likely to defer their semesters. What should one do during this gap year? Because sitting at home is not an option. Most of them don't even have the traditional option of taking up a job. None of us know what the new normal really looks like. So how should and what should students do, Dr. Gupta?
We are indeed living in disruptive times, and only those who are going to adapt and innovate will survive. So there are two sets of students in question. One that have already been studying abroad and are now back in India. For these students, they're continuing their current semester online. And for their fall semester, the same trend is likely to continue till their place of study becomes a safe zone to travel. And now coming to the freshers who plan to go abroad for the first time, they're in a bigger dilemma because options are complicated. For one, most universities abroad haven't even decided if they're starting online or on campus, and most would take a final call by June or July. And I don't think the universities are ready to even go online yet. But nonetheless, the kids have to evaluate the pros and cons of starting online and then moving to campus in January. The pros are clear. You save time. If you're doing a 4-year program, spending a semester online is not a bad idea. But January is not the best time to arrive in the West. It's cold, mid-year, adjustment is harder. And if you're doing a master's or MBA degree, which is 1 to 2 years duration, you don't want to spend part of that online. So in most cases, we would see students deferring their admission. And that's where the entire gap year comes into focus. So I tell students that the key thing to remember is students should focus on improving their existing skills and learning new ones. I tell students focus on the following. One, the best way to up your skills is take online courses on websites like edX, Coursera, Udacity, Udemy, the list goes on and on. Students who are technically inclined should look up to their business skills by taking classes in subjects such as finance and accounting. And students who are business inclined should take courses to up their technical skills such as Python for everybody, digital marketing. These courses would look great on the resume, and you can even earn certificates for them. Two, I would tell students you can earn an entire degree online. If you want a master's or diploma, UCLA, UT Austin, so many top schools give you online degrees. Times have changed. Students should get used to doing things online. If people can have concerts, doctor consultations, and even socialize, then studying online is not going to be that hard. And I would also tell students, learn a new language. Spanish is a great option for students who want to study in North America, just as an example. If you've dreamed of starting your own business, now is a good time to start. Start your entrepreneurship venture, talk to entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, start refining your business idea. Then take internships online. Internshala, for example, has posted 5,500 online jobs. You can do projects with companies, and this again is something that you can state on your resume. Finally, I would tell students, read, read, read.
Well, reading can ever be a bad option for any of us, isn't it, Karan? Because reading is something which is self-enhancement. And as far as, Karan, why don't you guide students? What should they do now? If you are looking at then 2021, if you're taking a gap year now, what is the kind of an impediment that they are going to be facing going forward in 2021 when they go for their education overseas?
So I think, Chetty, that's a fantastic question, because when we look at it, look at even universities like Harvard, who originally would have acceptance rates of 4.6% and 12.8% international students. Now, we can assume that with so many local students deferring their admission, it's going to be harder for international students to get in for 2021. You can assume that would be at least a 2 to 3% less chance for an international student to get admission to an Ivy League or any other top school. So I would tell students, of course, be more realistic with the kind of schools you apply to, build that profile. I mean, whatever we spoke about in terms of the different things that they could do, work harder on your academics, work harder on your test scores. These are the important parts of your application. Today, we are hearing about schools making tests optional. Even if they make tests optional, there are going to be students who provide test scores. And I believe universities eventually would look at the scores. And if not, it's going to come down back to academics and the extracurricular activities that we spoke about.
Absolutely. So Dr. Karan Gupta is guiding our students on how, if you are a student looking at taking a gap year, what you can do in case you're a student who wants to start this year itself. Viral Doshi guided you on what you should do. In case you are taking an admission for 2021 after taking a gap year, then Dr. Karan Gupta has guided you on that as well. In fact, Dr. Shahani is somebody who says, if you are somebody who wants to stay in India, India is not a bad option. She was speaking to me yesterday offline as well on the phone and told me how we're all products of the Indian education. She was making that point to me as well, and I tend to agree as well. So Dr. Shahani, you were telling us about how Indian education can always end up replacing the education that you take overseas as well, but the on-campus experience that you get overseas is something that you can get in India too. If you could just tell us about how they can go about pursuing this in India, because there is a financial ramification to this. There's also a risk when the parents are really sending their shows abroad, their students abroad as well. All right, Dr. Shahani is not being able to join us. We're having some technical difficulty, and that is the new normal when it comes to broadcast as well, not just education. With that, it's a wrap from me, Chaiti Narula. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for your time.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.